What is up, everybody? It's the Radishologist, and today we are doing Radish's Movie Club Episode 2, Week 2. I have 7 movies lined up that we're going to talk about. Those movies are Top Gun Maverick, Top Gun, The Black Phone, The Gray Man, got 2 color movies in there, Unbreakable, Split, and Glass. Um, so those 3 of those are from this year, and the others are older movies. Um, while I discuss these movies, I'm going to be playing Fall Guys just so that you guys have something to look at instead of it just being my face the whole time. So I'm just gonna go through my thoughts on these movies. If you have seen these movies and want to chime in, feel free to ask away in the chat. Obviously, if you're watching this on YouTube later, you won't be able to do that, but join my streams in the future, twitch.tv/radishologist. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I think we should get started with Radish's Movie Club. If Fall Guys would load, but it's not loading. Oh, it is loading. It's just loading very slowly. Um, let's see. Okay. So the first movie we are going to discuss is um The Black Wall, apparently. Oh, my Windows Defender firewall has blocked some features of Fall Guys for some reason. Bro, allow access. Sorry. Anyway, as you can see by the bottom left corner, we're going to start with The Black Phone. Um, can you guys hear Fall Guys? I think you can. I guess it doesn't matter. All right, so The Black Phone was released in July of 2022. Um, Technically, it was actually released at a film festival a year ago, and it got such positive reviews that Universal decided to release it in theaters, and it took them a year for some reason. Don't really know what that's about. But hang on a second. Okay. Um, Ooh, sorry, I lost my train of thought already. I haven't even. Oh yeah, okay. So The Black Phone is a horror movie, starring Ethan Hawke. Um, I forget the kid's name, but the main character is a kid. Ethan Hawke is the protagonist. I mean antagonist. The kid's the protagonist, of course. Um, don't remember the actor's name. I could look it up, but I don't feel like it. Um, so it's about this kid, or I guess it's about this town where uh, basically a psychopath dude who they call the Grabber just kidnaps kids like one at a time, and for some reason they are not able to stop him. And then the main character gets kidnapped after a couple of his friends get kidnapped, and there's a phone in the room, a black phone in the jail cell that he's being held in, and he can hear the dead-ish voices of his friends that had got kidnapped earlier. I guess we don't know if they're dead. I mean, yeah, we do know that they're dead. That's a spoiler. Oops. There are spoilers on this stream, by the way. Anyway, so yeah, that's pretty much the story. I went into it with like basically no expectations. I just, I saw some trailers, like, well, that looks relatively interesting. Might as well go see it. So my roommate and I went and watched it, and it was actually pretty good. I was surprised by how much I liked it. I'm not really a huge fan of horror movies. I don't hate them. I mean, when I was younger, I used to like refuse to watch horror movies, just because I was a coward, I guess. But recently, over the past couple years, I've been watching a lot of horror movies. As you saw in last stream, I talked about all the Jordan Peele movies, which are horror movies, and I'm talking about The Black Phone now, and of course there's other. I've seen lots of horror movies now, so I like horror movies now. Not my favorite genre, but I like them. Um, but yeah, I enjoyed The Black Phone. Probably, like, it doesn't have too many horror aspects. It's not like there's a ton of jump scares or anything. But it's like the atmosphere that it builds throughout the movie. Um, it's very like slow building, tensions rising and stuff. Um, So just the way that they create that through the editing and the acting and all of that is well done, I think. Um, the kid who forget his name already, the protagonist. I mean, not already. I still can't remember his name. He actually did really good for a child actor. I mean, I know some kid actors are just not good at all, but I don't know how old he is, probably in his teens, but he was really good. I was like rooting for him. I felt compelled to care for his character because of because of his acting. And then the girl who played his sister, who was not in it as much, she's also a kid actor, obviously. I liked her acting as well. I feel like her character came off a little bit like cringe. I mean, I don't really want to say cringe, but that was just her character. I don't think it was the actress's fault. I thought she did really good. And the brother-sister relationship that the two of them have throughout the movie isn't something that's done very much in movies these days. I don't think. Maybe it is, and I'm just stupid. But I think the relationship in this movie is compelling, emotional. It felt like they cared for each other because they did. So I liked their relationship throughout the film, and I liked how she was trying to save him. I didn't really get why she was able to see the future or something. Like she's like psychic or something in the movie. Apparently her mom was also like that. And their dad is like, she was crazy. You're not a psychic or something. But she is, because she sees the place where the main character gets kidnapped. And technically doesn't save him, but she gets the police to the house across the street because that's the one that she thought it was at. I don't know, it's like you'll see if you watch the movie. If you have seen it, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I really liked their reunion at the end, her and her brother. I almost felt myself like tears welling up in my eyes just because I was so happy for them that they made it back together and like one of them didn't die. And with horror movies, that's not really that common for the protagonists to both survive and like overcome the villain. So I'm glad that it happened in this movie. Because I like happy endings. I know, I mean, some like sad endings are good, obviously. I made it last place. Or sad endings or surprising endings are obviously good, depending on the movie. But I like a good happy ending too. And with this movie, I think it really fit. Let me see what else about this movie. I feel like Ethan Hawke. The only other thing I've seen him in, honestly, is Moon Knight, which came out this year as well. Technically, I saw him in Dead Poet Society when he was younger. He actually played a character named Todd, I think. Or I could be thinking of a different actor. And I'm Todd, so I like him. But I liked his acting in this movie. Wasn't anything like, groundbreaking or anything, but I liked his performance. He was a very chilling villain. He spooked me whenever he showed up. I like the mask that he wears. You can see it in the poster. It's pretty scary, I think. I feel like I know he was the main antagonist, but I feel like he was underused, which doesn't really make sense because he was the main villain. But I feel like they could have done more with his character or something. I don't really know what they could have done. Oh, well, actually, one thing. So, let me see. This is a spoiler. I mean, this whole stream is going to be full of spoilers, but basically the protagonist kills Ethan Hawke at the end, the grabber at the end, by using, I'll get to that later, by using pretty cool methods. And I like that he was able to use them, but I feel like Ethan Hawke should have gotten up like one last time after he thought he killed him, because that's how villains, That's how villains be in movies. The hero thinks they killed him, and then they have one last fight in them. So I feel like he should have showed up or came back one last time at the end to fight. But I don't know. I mean, I still liked what happened. So yeah, I'll get to that now. Throughout the movie, the different kids, as they talk to the different dead kids, as they talk to the main character through the black phone, which they don't explain, by the way, which is, you know, I guess they don't really have to explain it, but I don't know, it's a bit weird. But anyway, they talk to him through the phone, and they tell him like these different things they can do to get out of the place, like the cell that he's in. None of them work at first, and you're like, oh, what's the point of this? And then at the end, he uses all these things to kill the grabber, which is cool. It's like a Chekhov's gun kind of thing. If you don't know what Chekhov's gun is, it's like everything that is shown in a movie must become important later in the movie, or it doesn't have to, but like if you show it in the movie earlier and like it doesn't seem important, but then it comes into play later, that's called Chekhov's gun. Don't really know why. I guess because there's a movie with a gun, and then it comes into play at the end. I don't really know. But anyway, so that's what this kind of was. He does, let's see, one of the kids tells him to dig a pit, like a tunnel out of there, which he starts digging, but he doesn't get all the way out. And then later, another kid tells him, let's see, what else happens? A kid tells him about this freezer that he can break through the wall to get to, which he does. But then he can't get through the freezer. The freezer's locked. And then another kid tells him to lock to the combination at the end to get out of the actual front door, which he gets out of it first, and then he gets caught again, so it feels like it doesn't work. And then the last kid teaches him how to fight, because he was kind of a wimp, and this is like his character development. It was this cool kid that he looked up to, teaches him how to, like, you know, just fight the dude and kill him, basically. And so the first three things that I mentioned, they don't work at first. And then when the grabber comes in to finally kill the kid at the end, he uses these three things to kill the grabber. So like he trips him into the pit somehow. I forget how. What else? He fights him by just like punching him, and then he chokes him out and kills him. The grabber has this really menacing dog, and then he throws the meat to the dog so the dog doesn't kill him. And then he gets out using the combination lock. So it all comes to play in the end, and you know, it's nice when that happens in movies. So they did well in that aspect of the movie. Basically, I know it's just a really solid horror movie. If you like horror movies, I think you would like it. And it's also, even if you don't like horror movies, you probably like it, because there's only like a couple jump scares, which did scare me, by the way. I jumped when you see like one of the dead kids just right behind him at the end, or not at the end, sometime during the movie. It made me jump, so very scary. I mean, not very scary, but you know, I like being scared sometimes. But yeah, solid movie. I gave it an 8 out of 10. You know, just good all around. I think that's everything I have to say about the movie. Again, they didn't really explain everything, like the psychic part or the black phone, why that works, or why the grabber really existed, like why he did what he did. He just kind of kidnapped kids and then killed them eventually. Like kept him in his cell for a while and then killed him. Don't think they really explained it, but I don't know, you don't really need to explain everything in movies. But yeah, good movie. I recommend. 8 out of 10. Next, we're going to talk about an old movie, or older movie. It's called Top Gun. I'm sure you've heard of it, especially because of the sequel that came out this year, but we're talking about the original first. So this movie came out in 1986, starring Tom Cruise and whatever that lady's name is, and Val Kilmer. Man, I really gotta remember actors' names. I should really like write this down beforehand. But yeah, this movie is, if you don't know, which you should know, it's basically about fighter pilots who were recruited into the Top Gun program, which was like the top 1% of pilots. Um, I guess that's really the whole plot. I mean, it's just, and the main character Maverick is like really cocky, so he learns to be humble-ish throughout the movie, I guess. I guess that's his character development. Um, my mom loves this movie. Don't really know why. I mean, it's a good movie. It's a classic. It's iconic. So I guess I understand that. And it also came out when she was, younger. So she really likes this movie. And I watched it for the first time like a year or two ago. And I liked it. I mean, it wasn't anything fantastic. I enjoyed it. The plane scenes are definitely the best part, especially for 1986, for them to get those shots they did with the planes flying, just all the aerial stunts that they do. It's all really impressive for the 80s. I mean, I guess it wasn't that long ago, but and I don't know if they actually did the stunts or if it was CGI. I mean, CGI wasn't that great back then, so I feel like it wasn't CGI. So I guess they probably got actual Navy pilots to do those stunts, which is cool. I know they did that for the new one. I just don't remember if they did it for the first one. But yeah, it's all the plane scenes are cool. Not as some of them will kind of get a bit boring / repetitive, just because you're seeing planes fly a lot in the movie. But still cool to watch. The cinematography, especially, not just for the plane scenes, but just the whole movie in general, has really good shots, nice visuals, good to look at, which is also a bit surprising, or not surprising, but impressive for an 80s movie, I guess. The acting is great, of course. Tom Cruise is always a good actor. I mean, he just plays himself, but it fits for this movie. I really like Goose's character, who I also forget the name of, like the name of his actor. Val Kilmer, of course, is good. The lead female, who I already said I forgot the name of, she is also great. I like that she's a Navy pilot or teacher or whatever, who ends up teaching Maverick at the end. I think that's kind of funny. And I like their romance, or like relationship, I guess. I like it. It's compelling, I feel, for the romance. I mean, I guess it's kind of like, how did that work? Because he literally follows her into a bathroom at the beginning of the movie or something, just to like flirt with her. Which is kind of like, if you did that these days, you would be arrested, obviously. You probably should have been arrested back then, too. But, I guess as their relationship develops, it's, compelling to watch. Unfortunately, she did not return for the sequel because she's old and fat now. And Tom Cruise, for some reason, does not age. He is a vampire. He's like 60 now, and he looks great for his age. She does not look great, so that's why they brought in a new female. But we'll get to that in a second. Back to the original. Goose's death scene. That's a spoiler, but obviously I said there are going to be spoilers. It was very depressing, like very emotional, with like the music. I think there's music. I actually don't remember. It's been a while since I watched it. I feel like it was sad music. It would make sense. And just like Tom Cruise's reaction, and also all the other characters, their reaction to his death is very heartbreaking. And the fact that Maverick thinks it's his fault, even though it's not really his fault. It kind of is his fault, but not really. That, like, makes him realize that he has to stop being so cocky all the time. Of course, he still is, but, he's slightly less cocky, I guess, by the end of the movie. And then they need him to kill the baddies at the end, or whatever it is that they need to do. And he overcomes that, even though he didn't want to fly ever again after his partner died. Because, Goose is his best friend. He's like, I'm never flying again. And then he does, and, saves the day and all that. So that's all great. Good just good story. Beats, I think, I guess predictable, but this is a classic, so, and from the 80s, so it's probably original, it's not like it's not that predictable, I wouldn't think. I've just seen a lot of movies, so I know what's gonna happen in most. um, but yeah, and that, acting, oh yeah, I already said the acting is great from everybody involved, Tom Cruise especially. Um, the story itself gets a bit slow in the parts that are not flying in the planes. Um, but it's not like, it doesn't get, I don't think it's boring. I wouldn't say it's boring, but it is a bit mundane, which is a synonym for boring, but I don't know. It's not terrible. It's a good movie. Like, a lot of people clown on the movie for having that shirtless volleyball scene for like no reason in the movie. Like, there's no reason for them to do that scene. Which I guess I do agree with. It doesn't really make sense. They don't need it for the story to make sense. The only reason it's in there is so he can be late to his date, I guess. But even that doesn't have that much impact on the plot. So, I don't know. It's just an excuse to show off the actors, shirtless. Because they all, got muscles and stuff. Which is understandable, it was the 80s, so that's, I don't know, it's a new thing for the 80s maybe. Well, I guess probably not, but I don't know. I don't really know. It's, you know, it's there. That's my feelings on it. Um, oh, and the score, the music is iconic. The Top Gun song, um, and also Highway to the Danger Zone is perfectly used in this movie. Um, you know, really adds to the film. I don't remember which scenes it's in, but when you hear it, you're like, oh, that's the song. So iconic, of course. Um, but yeah, you can't really hate this movie. It's a classic. Um, Rotten Tomatoes hates it apparently. It's got like a 50 something percent. They say something like, um, there's not enough going on in the movie besides the plane scenes or something, is their reasoning for giving it such a low score. Which I think there's plenty going on. There's the power struggle between Maverick and Iceman, played by Val Kilmer. There's the, him grappling with Goose's death. There's the relationship with his teacher, which is also not very realistic, but so I think there's plenty going on. So I don't know what Rotten Tomatoes is talking about, really. I guess I did say it gets a bit boring at times. Maybe that's what they're talking about. So yeah. If you haven't seen Top Gun, you should definitely see it. It's a classic. Definitely something you should see at least once in your lifetime. Maybe just once, because it's not, I don't know, it's not something I would watch multiple times, even though I have seen it twice. I watched it for the first time like 2 years ago, and then I watched it before I saw Maverick, of course. But yeah. Is it time to talk about Top Gun Maverick? I think it is. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. There it is. I was actually I saw this in like May, like when it first came out in IMAX, which was great. I wanted to go watch it again in theaters this past weekend. I almost did. I came very close to doing it because I didn't have anything else to do. But eventually I was like, you know what, I probably shouldn't be spending money because, you know how it is. Not that I am poor, but I don't need to be spending money on movies that I've seen once already. But yeah, I don't usually see movies twice in theaters anymore. I used to watch the Marvel and Star Wars movies multiple times in theaters, like all the time, when I was a kid. But recently I don't really watch anything in theaters multiple times. I just watch it once in theaters, and then if I liked it enough, I'll watch it again when it comes out on streaming. But with Maverick, it was so good that I wanted to see it again. It's just that great. And it came out in May, like Memorial Day weekend, and it's still doing really well in theaters. Today is August 4th, and it's still made like over $1 million in theaters today. It's done over $1 million every day since it came out. I'm pretty sure is what it said. It's like the 8th highest grossing movie domestically now, and definitely up there worldwide. I don't know the exact number. And it kind of came out of nowhere. Like, I saw the trailers. Obviously, I saw it like the trailer like 2 years ago because it was originally supposed to release in 2020, and then COVID happened, so they delayed it. They delayed it for 2 years. They delayed it multiple times, and after the trailer, I wasn't really that impressed. I was like, oh, another Top Gun, and I hadn't seen the first one at the time, so I was just like, oh, I wonder if that'll be good. Probably not, because most sequels aren't that great these days. Like sequels to old movies. And then it got delayed a bunch, and I was like, it's probably not going to be that great. And then it got like, when it first debuted, it got like 100% on Rotten Tomatoes originally, and I was like, oh. And it got such positive reviews from like everybody, like not a single negative review. This is the final round. Sorry, I'm talking about Fall Guys. I guess it is. Oh, I fell. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, and it's just doing really well. Like, I don't think anybody saw this coming. I didn't see it coming. It's done over $1 billion already. Probably over $1 billion, 1.5 billion at this point, I would think. Maybe not. Oh, it's not the last one. Okay. So yeah, I was just really surprised that it was doing well, and I'm still surprised. It's still doing so great. It's beating Elvis now. It's beating Lightyear. It's beating Jurassic World. All these movies that came out after it. It's doing better than, or like most of them. Which, you know, is good because it's not a superhero movie. I mean, not that I like Marvel movies, but like it's refreshing to see a movie that's not part of a franchise, even though it technically is because it's a sequel to Top Gun. But a movie that's not, you know, a Marvel movie, superhero movie, Star Wars, Fast and Furious, anything like that. It is Top Gun, but it's the first Top Gun sequel in 36 years. 36 I think. And it's just really good. I haven't even talked about what it's about yet, and I've just been gushing about this movie that I love so much. I can't wait for it to come out on streaming, but like I honestly hope it stays in theaters for a long time because it's just so good. And if you haven't seen it, you should see it in theaters before it leaves because it's one of those movies where it's so much better in the movie theater. I actually saw it in IMAX, which was great. You know, bigger screens, better sound, I think. So, just a very good movie. Let me talk about what it's actually about, obviously. So this, obviously a sequel to Top Gun. Maverick returns to the Top Gun program to teach a group of new pilots. Well, not new pilots. They were all also #1 pilot in their class, like he was. Well, he wasn't actually one. He was #2 technically because of Iceman. So he comes back to train them all to do one last mission, or not last mission, but like this really high stakes mission, which is not specified which country it's in to keep it not political, but it's clearly Russia or somewhere cold because it's this really hard stunt that they have to do in the mountains. And he originally wants to do it himself, but then they're like, no, you gotta teach it. And spoiler, he eventually ends up doing it himself anyway, because of reasons that I will get to later. So yeah, after hearing how good it was, my expectations were like pretty high, and I was hoping that they weren't going to be too high. Like I was like, oh, this must be like the best movie ever. I was like, please don't be disappointed when I went to see it. And I was not disappointed. I really think it was just so good. Like the story itself, awesome. The acting, awesome. The action, awesome. Everything about it basically is awesome. The score, the cinematography, the visuals, the sound, just everything about it is just good. Very emotional, very action-packed, very fast-paced compared to the last one, at least. I mean, just in general, it's fast-paced, but yeah, definitely compared to the last one. Um, and yeah, just it's cinematic. It's thrilling. Those are the words I would use to describe it. And I have never been interested in the military, but after watching Top Gun Maverick, I might have to enlist in the Navy. Thank you, Tom Cruise. I'm just kidding. That's a joke. I'm not enlisting in the Navy. Um, but I wouldn't be surprised if people have signed up for the Navy because of this movie. I mean, maybe I would be a little surprised. It'd be funny if that happened. But I feel like it probably has happened. Um, but yeah, it's just so good. You need to see it. Even if you haven't seen the first one, you don't really have to see the first one to completely understand. They go, they give you enough backstory for you to get what's happening. But if you have seen the first one, um, that's even better because you'll understand. You'll more thoroughly understand everything that's going on, like with the relationship between Maverick and Iceman. What happened to Goose, of course. Um, they don't bring up the female character that was in the first one at all because she's old and fat now, as I said. But they have this new character who, she's there. She's probably the one thing that I don't really love about this movie, just because she comes out of nowhere, and they don't explain who she is or anything. But I get, it's a Top Gun movie. You have to have a love interest. And I didn't hate her. Like, she wasn't annoying or anything. She's just, probably could have done without her, but I didn't. It's not enough for me to take any points off, like, the score for this movie. But yeah, definitely the best part. I mean, not the best part, because everything about this movie is the best part. But one of the things I like about this movie is the relationship between Maverick and Rooster. Rooster is Goose's son, and Goose died in the first one, as you recall. His son is in the movie, but he's a kid in the movie. Obviously, it's not the same actor. Well, I guess it could have been. It's probably been enough years, but they got Miles Teller to play Rooster. I wonder if the kid who played the original character was like upset that they got Miles Teller instead of asking him to come back. That's something I'm gonna look up later. Miles Teller plays him to perfection, though. I mean, he didn't have a personality in the first one, so it doesn't matter what his personality is. But just his character, the relationship between him and Maverick, it's very strained for the beginning, and then it develops throughout the movie, and they become, like a father-son kind of thing, which is always good to see. It's very emotional seeing the two of them interact. Several times their conversations made me tear up because of how, and just the way they edited the movie makes it so sad to remember that Goose died. Probably made me sadder about Goose's death than the original did, if I'm being honest. Yeah, it's just so good. Just go see it. I shouldn't have to explain anything else about it. I'm going to, but it's great. I like how they have a focused mission in this movie instead of just in the original. They don't have a focused mission. It's just them going through the Top Gun program, basically. But in this one, they have something that they're training to do, which is to infiltrate Russia or whatever it is, and blow up the base, whatever it is they're doing, some power plant, I don't remember, but it's got this like Star Wars aspect to it where they have to shoot at this one tiny spot, and they're training for that the whole time, and it's basically, they think it's impossible, and it seems impossible from their training, but that makes it so much better when they do end up succeeding, because you like to see characters succeed at what they do. I like all the side characters. Phoenix, Bob, Hangman, Coyote, Payback, Fanboy. They're all, they don't have extremely developed personalities because it's not really about them. but they have their specific character traits, and it's nice to see that in a movie, I think. And I felt, scared for them when I thought they were about to die. I cared for their characters. Um, so obviously the actors were doing something right. All the actors are great. Tom Cruise, of course, um, as Maverick. Of course, and again, he was kind of playing himself, but I like how he was like, I don't know. I don't really know how to explain it. He's playing himself, but older because he is older. His acting, some of the most emotional acting I've seen from him in a while, probably. Because, he's in like Mission Impossible, big blockbuster movies that don't really require him to be like super emotional all the time. Last movie I can think of where he's like that is Jerry Maguire, I guess. Maybe Top Gun. I guess Jerry Maguire came out after Top Gun. I haven't really seen him in any other movies besides Mission Impossible and Top Gun and Jerry Maguire. But yeah, in this one, he's definitely probably the most emotional acting I've seen from him. Just the way he interacts with Goose not Goose, Rooster, and and he wants to do everything himself, but the teachers won't let him, and then the teachers fire him because Iceman dies, because Iceman's the only one who's got him to teach. Iceman dies, so oh yeah, spoiler. The guys are like, well, we don't need you anymore. He was the only reason you were here, so goodbye. And then he proves to them that they can actually do the impossible, which is because none of the students had finished that course, the training course yet. So he does it, and then they're like, you know what, Maverick, you do it. And he's actually happy about that because he wanted to do it in the first place. But then you're like, oh no, what if he dies? And then there's a point where you think he does die because he saves Goose's life and explodes, but he ejects himself from the plane and does survive, and then he's about to die again, and then Rooster comes in. Oh, wait, did I say Goose? I meant to say Rooster. Rooster comes in, saves him, and then Rooster almost dies, and then the two of them are together, and and then they have to escape. It's just a good movie. I can't stress enough how much I enjoyed it. Honestly, best movie of the year of 2022. Maybe best movie of the decade, being the 2020s. Probably, honestly. I mean, obviously, it's only been 2.5 years of the 2020s so far, and 2 of them were during a pandemic, so not very many movies released. But I honestly don't think I can think of any other movies this year, or in the past 2.5 years, that released in the past 2.5 years, that I like more than Top Gun Maverick. Maybe a couple. I like Coda. The Father's pretty good too. But definitely 2022. Because it has not really been very many good movies this year. I haven't seen Everything Everywhere All at Once, which I hear is really good. So maybe if I see that, I'll like that more than Maverick. Also have not seen... What are some other movies people have been saying have been amazing? I don't know. But I don't know, it's just Top Gun Maverick is just good. It's a blockbuster, but it's also a good story. Like, some blockbusters make a lot of money even if their story's bad. Cough, cough, Jurassic World Dominion. Which I will talk about in another episode probably. I hate that movie, but that's not what we're here to talk about. Yeah, Top Gun Maverick is just really good. I know I'm just saying those words over and over again, but that's all I can use to describe it. It's just fantastic. And if you were here live right now and you had seen this movie, you would be agreeing with me. You would be typing in the chat, I agree with you, Todd. Top Gun Maverick is the best movie I have ever seen. Just kidding. Maybe not the best ever, but definitely one of the better movies. Just in general, like it's way better than the original. Obviously, a lot of people have been saying that. Even my mom said that, who loved the first one. She agreed Maverick is better than the first one, which is good because it is. I got goosebumps. I got tears in my eyes. My mom next to me was gasping. She was cheering. She was crying. I know I'm not that emotional when I see movies, but I could feel them all in my chest as the movie was happening. I really cared for the movie, and I really wanted to see it again last weekend, but I decided I need to save my money, even though it's only like $10 to see a movie. But $10 I could use other places. Plus, I'm gonna be going to the movie theater tomorrow, probably. Actually, I still gotta talk to my roommate about that. We might be going to see Bullet Train, which I'm excited for. But back to Top Gun Maverick. Actually, I think that's really all I have to say about Maverick. It's just good. I gave it a 10 out of 10. Only things. Oh, actually, here's one other thing. The only things I didn't like about it. One I said was the lady, who I didn't hate. Obviously she just I could have done without her. But the other thing, it's a bit. One thing that like made me be like is the fact that Maverick survives like 3 plane crashes in this movie. I mean, obviously he ejects during all of them, so he doesn't. So obviously he wouldn't crash and blow up. But the first time, like the first crash, is the most, or what's the word? Unbelievable, because he's going like 10 Gs, which that in itself is insane. That first scene where he's like doing that, where he's pushing himself to go farther than 9 Gs or whatever, 8 Gs, whatever they were at originally, and he pushes himself all the way to 10. Like everyone in the theater was like, "Don't do it, Mav," but we all knew he was going to because that's just his character. And then his plane explodes, but he ejects, and he's just, fine. I feel like if you're going that fast, which is like what, light speed? I obviously not light speed, but just very fast. And even if you are ejecting, I feel like that would probably break some bones, at least, or maybe I'm overestimating physics. I don't really know. I'm not a scientist, so I don't really know. But I feel like he probably should not have been able to survive that. I don't know. And then later he ejects himself from the plane at the end, or near the end. Oh, that was funny. And he wasn't going as fast, but he explodes at first, and I thought he was dead, but then he's fine. Nothing broken or anything. So that's a bit like, what's the word? Out of the realm of belief. Is that how you? I can't remember how to say the words that I'm thinking of. But you know what I mean, But it's not enough for me to take any points away because the rest of the movie is just so good. I do want to talk about the last scene, or not the last scene, but if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. This is a spoiler. Maverick and Goose, or Rooster, stole a plane from Russia or wherever they are, and it's a really old plane. They finally take down the 2 that are chasing them, and then they're over the ocean. They're like, all right, we're home free. And then there's one more Russian plane that's so high tech, so much better than them in general, and it's coming right towards them. So they're like, oh, we're dead. So they try to eject, but it doesn't even work. And so, I knew it was going to happen because they kind of allude to it earlier, but I still got goosebumps when it happened. And I was like, that was awesome. And my whole theater clapped and cheered. I don't think I did, but I was clapping and cheering in my mind, because Hangman comes and saves them. And he's kind of a dick in the beginning of the movie, or just the whole movie. And even though he is, and he saves them, and he's still a bit of an asshole, and he's like, your savior has arrived, or whatever. It's still, you're just like, this is great. I love Hangman now because he saves the 2 main characters. That's how good this movie is. It makes you like the main antagonist, I guess is what I should say. Yeah, just a really, really good movie. I don't have much else to say about it. I've been gushing about this movie for like 15 minutes. It's just that good. Oh, and them saying "Talk to me, Goose" multiple times throughout the movie, made me cry, almost. And of course, when Rooster says "Talk to me, Dad," is even better. Just a really great use of callbacks. It's just a really good movie in general. I said that like 8 times, but it's just the truth. Go watch it if you haven't. It's still in theaters, probably. Can't wait for it to come out in streaming. I guess it'll be Paramount Plus, which I don't have, I don't think. But I might get it just for Top Gun. I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't come out streaming until like Veterans Day, honestly, which is November. just to give it that much of a longer window in theaters. Because really, there's not really many more movies in August or September that it has to compete with, if I'm thinking about it. There's Bullet Train, of course. That's really the only mainstream movie I can think of that's coming out in the next 2 months. So, it won't really have trouble competing against, the smaller movies that are releasing. So, yeah, wouldn't be surprised if it's still in theaters until Veterans Day. Or maybe it'll do until, like, Labor Day, and then have it streaming Veterans Day. Or something. I don't know. I don't really know how they do distribution to movies. But I'm gonna watch it again once it's streaming. Anything else about Top Gun Maverick? Of course, if you're watching this on YouTube after I streamed and you have any thoughts about these movies that I did not bring up and you want to mention, feel free to comment it down below. I will respond because I do not get a lot of views yet, so I have the time to respond. But yeah, looking forward to seeing what you guys think about Top Gun Maverick. Alright, so now that I've talked about that movie for like 15 minutes, let's move on to Unbreakable, which is not a new movie, so I would not be surprised if you have not seen this. But this is an M. Night Shyamalan, however you pronounce that, I think that's how you pronounce it, movie from the year 2000, starring Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson. It's technically a superhero movie, but it's not like the superhero movie that we know today. It's much slower paced, much more grounded, much more realistic. And it's really the only superpower he has. Bruce Willis, oh well, yeah, let me tell you what it's about. So Bruce Willis finds out that he cannot be injured. And I guess he can technically die, but he just can't. His bones can't break, which is why it's called Unbreakable. He's never gotten sick. And he doesn't realize that he's never been injured until this movie, even though it's been like that his whole life. I think it's his whole life, yeah. And this movie is pretty good. M. Night Shyamalan, his movies are either like really good or terrible. Like you probably know, he directed the live-action Last Airbender movie, which sucks. One of the worst movies ever. But he also directed The Sixth Sense, which is great, and one of the, well, maybe not one of the best movies ever, but a really good movie. And then he also directed he directed Old, which I haven't seen, which is his most recent movie. He directed Split and Glass, which I'm going to talk about later today. So he's known for his plot twists, I think, and there is one at the end of Unbreakable, which I will get to. But yeah, this movie is, it's refreshing to see a superhero movie that's doesn't have big superhero fights like a hero versus villain fight, doesn't have a ton of CGI. It might not even have any CGI, if I'm thinking about it. Maybe a little, I don't know. It was 2000, so they definitely were capable of it. There's no capes or costumes. Obviously, that doesn't really matter. I'm not hating on superhero movies. I love Marvel movies still. Or most of them. But it's cool to see this movie, which is also an original superhero movie. Not based on comics or anything like that. It's an original screenplay by M. Night. It also came out before the modern superhero movie, so I guess that could also be part of why it's new. Not new, but like refreshing for the genre. Because it's 2000. And so very different from the modern MCU movies that we see today. Let's see. So the mystery in this movie is, compelling. You're like wondering, how is he never sick? How is his bones not breakable? And I guess they don't really explain why, but just seeing his character realize that is, cool. It's compelling, and his relationship with his son is also great. And the best part of this movie, I mean not the best part, one of the good parts about this movie is Samuel L. Jackson's character. He plays Elijah, who also known as Mr. Glass, who is basically the complete opposite of Bruce Willis's character, his name's David Dunn. And his bones can break really easily. He has had like 50 something breaks in his lifetime. So he's the complete opposite. And he's when he finally hears about David Dunn, this guy who survived a train crash where every other person died, he starts to get into this guy's life and, you know, mess with his head. And he's like, David originally just wants him to leave him alone, but then he realizes that Elijah's right, so he's like, you know, that relationship is well done throughout the movie, I think. It's a bit of a slower movie, but it's not boring. Like, I don't think I ever felt bored while watching it. One of the things I really like about this movie is the camera work. They do these really long shots. So, like a lot of movies these days have really quick cuts, especially in like action scenes. There's not really any action scenes in this movie, but just the scenes, like the regular dialogue scenes between characters, it doesn't really cut very much. It's just like a really long shot, and that draws out the tension, I guess, and the mystery. So that's all done really well, I think. There's this one of the first scenes, which is on the train that crashes before it crashes. He's sitting in his seat, and this lady comes up to him and talks to him, or she sits next to him and they talk. And while the camera is positioned between the two seats in front of them, and then it goes back and forth between the crack in the seats, like without cutting. It just like moves back and forth for like the whole scene. Like, for one thing, that's impressive that they remember all their dialogue. I mean, maybe it's not impressive, that's the job of the actor, but it's cool that they're able to do that. And it's just, even though that scene isn't like completely necessary to the plot, it's still, you know, the camera work just elevates it to another level, I think. And it does this, I don't think it does really anything else like that specifically in the movie, but it does still do more long shots, long drawn out shots, especially in the, oh, there's no fight scenes, but like that one scene at the end where he's wearing the cape, or not the cape, oh, I guess there is a cape in this movie, darn, I was wrong earlier. Or the costume that he has, you know, those scenes are all drawn out, long shots, which adds to the mystery and the tension that's going on in that scene. So overall, a good movie. I think if you don't like slower movies, you might not enjoy it. But I normally don't like slow movies, and I did enjoy it. So, you know, you never know. I'd give it a try. I think it's a very realistic, I mean, maybe not realistic, because the guy's bones literally cannot break. But I think if that were to happen in the real life, it's relatively similar to how it would go. Maybe. I would hope. Spoiler time again. And then Samuel L. Jackson's character Elijah, Mr. Glass, at the end you find out he's the mastermind. He has committed all these terrorist attacks, or not, I guess, I mean technically they're terrorist attacks, where he is trying to find a survivor, because he's a comic book collector. He didn't have much time to do anything else when his bones were all broken, so he read a lot of comic books. So he knows a lot about superheroes. So he's trying to find his, what's the word? Arch enemy, his nemesis. So he's trying to find this guy who's exactly like, or opposite from him. And then eventually, after he blows up the train, which you don't find out until like the very last like 5 minutes of the movie, David Dunn shows up. And that's when Elijah starts messing with his life. And that's the big twist that's at the end. But then it's just like David Dunn reported Elijah to the police and he went to jail. That's basically it. Um, and I feel like the movie could have been better if it was about this psychological um, battle between Mr. Glass and David Dunn. You know, like I feel like the plot twist should have happened in like the beginning of the third act or something, and then the last act is David Dunn trying to figure out how to stop Elijah or whatever or something. I don't really like. Obviously, I'm not a writer. Well, I do like writing movie scripts, but I'm not a professional, is what I'm trying to say. So maybe that wouldn't be great, but I just feel like, especially because the way they present it, they just put words on the screen like David reported him to the police and he went to jail. Like I feel like it could have been done slightly better. I don't know. Or maybe a sequel about it, which technically there is a sequel, but I'll get to that later. Um, and the acting in this movie is also really good. Samuel L. Jackson especially plays a very different character than what he usually plays. You know, like the Nick Fury guy who's always saying the mother. I don't think I want to curse on my streams. Or, you know what that word he always says. And he's usually a badass character. Oh, I cursed. Well, whatever. Um, and in this character, he's not. I mean, he's a mastermind, so it's newish for this actor, I think. I mean, obviously this came out in 2000, so not new, but I feel like it's different for his usual role. And it's great. Bruce Willis is probably one of my favorite actors, so I really like his performance as well. The kid does pretty well as also, who's played by Spencer Clark, I think is his name. See, I remember his name, but I don't remember the actor's name from The Black Phone. That's interesting. Probably because I watched Unbreakable like last week, and The Black Phone was like a month ago, so that could be why I forgot. But yeah, I mean, all the actors in this movie are great, you know. And overall, it's just, it's just a good movie. Not as good as Top Gun Maverick, I would say. I don't think any of the movies I'm talking about today are as good as Top Gun Maverick. That's how much you need to see that movie. But it's still a solid movie. I gave it a 9 out of 10. I watched it for the first time this year, last week, I should say. And I enjoyed it. I should have watched it earlier, honestly. And then, next up, let's talk about Split, which is another M. Night Shyamalan movie from 2016. So it's a more recent one. This movie is starring Anya Taylor-Joy, I think is how you pronounce her name, and James McAvoy. Dude, that rhymes. And also Betty Buckley, who's like an old lady. And this is more of a horror film. It's about this dude who has 23 different personalities. And they're all psychopaths, basically. I mean, not really, but some of them are psychopaths. And he kidnaps these 3 girls and just keeps them in the room for a while and talks about how he's going to feed them to the beast. And so the movie's about them trying to escape and about his different personalities grappling for attention and all that. And I really like this movie. I think I may have liked it more than Unbreakable, if I'm being honest. It's still got that slow building vibe that Unbreakable had, but it's still but it's also more fast-paced in a way. And I think it might be one of my favorite horror movies, if I'm being honest. At least one of the best, or one of my favorite horror movies from recent years. The best thing about it, definitely, is the James McAvoy's performance, because he plays literally 23 different characters. I mean, I guess not all 23 are important in the movie. Like maybe, let's see, Hedwig, Dennis, Pauline, Patricia, um, Barry, the Beast. I think those five are, I guess, the main ones. Um, so really, I guess he really just plays five different characters. But the way he plays all these different personalities makes them feel, even though he looks the same, it makes them feel like completely different characters. His performances, as all the characters are, just fantastic, is what I should say. Hedwig, I like Hedwig especially because he's a nine-year-old kid. He's really good at playing a kid, even though he's like, what, 30 something? um, and then also the Beast, which is like his animal personality. He's honestly terrifying as the Beast, which is a good thing because he's the, the horror part of the movie. I don't know how he's able to like move his body like that when he like breathes and his muscles get all huge and stuff. I don't know how he does that, but it's really menacing. And there's this one shot where he's like bending metal bars of a cell, which is just really scary in general. He's just, and the only other things I've seen him in really are those X-Men movies where he plays young Professor X. So seeing him as a villain in these movies, or in this movie, is awesome. I would say, like he's, it's just his performance is just great. I also really liked Anya Taylor-Joy's performance. This is really, oh. Hello, Andrew. How long ago did you say that? Did I miss? It's okay. I forgive you for missing some of my stream. Wait, there's 4 people here now. What? Yeah, dude. I think this is the first time I've actually seen her in a movie, if I'm being honest. I know she's in The Queen's Gambit, which is that Netflix chess show. I haven't seen that.
Surprise cameo.
Surprise cameo.
Oh man.
Oh, you're one of the people
man,
watching.
I'm watching it. I'm watching
dude.
it. What do I call it? I love the lag.
Did you come on in? Oh wait. Oh yeah. Okay.
Oh, that's ahead of this. What's that?
That's, I don't know. That's my stream. Oh, you might be behind.
I guess I'm behind. I'm really behind.
Roommate, he says. This is my roommate, by the way.
Who's this? Who you talking to?
Oh no, I'm not talking to anyone. I'm talking to myself, like him, my friend Andrew. He said roommate.
Andrew, that's fine. Hey Andrew, I'm roommate.
His name's roommate. I was just talking about Split, the movie. Oh right. How long have you been watching? You've been watching a while?
I just parts.
Oh okay.
I was like, I watch it for him.
Nice. I talked about Top Gun Maverick for a while. Love that movie.
Good movie. I think everyone's just like, yeah, good movie.
Yeah, I mentioned that. I was talking about it for a long time.
Did you just watch it?
Yeah.
Like recently?
Yeah, I just watched all 3 Unbreakable, Split, and Glass.
Oh, that's right.
Like last week.
Glass sucks.
Yeah, I hate Glass. I haven't got to that one yet, but yeah, I hate it.
Split, good. Unbreakable, good. Glass, very bad.
I agree.
I'll leave it to it. Did you make
Thank you.
food?
I went to Wawa.
Pizza.
Oh, my bad.
Pizza all day. I was like, oh, Todd's making pizza, possibly.
Oh, well, I had pizza earlier this week, so I didn't want pizza again.
I didn't even eat that.
Oh, my bad.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
I'll figure it out.
All right.
Bye, Andrew.
Andrew said best roommate TBH. Oh, he didn't hear that part. That's fine. I don't know how much you guys could hear him because my mic is on my headset. Andrew says bye. But yeah, he was basically just saying, he was asking if I ate food because he's my roommate, and then he also was saying he likes Unbreakable and Split, but he hates Glass, which I'm going to get to in a bit. But back to Split. He can be heard pretty good. Okay, good. I'm glad you think so. Because when I watched the first stream that he cameoed in, you couldn't really hear him that well. So I had to like put text over what he was saying for the highlight reel. Anyway, so Split. How much did I talk? Oh, I talked about James McAvoy. I was talking about Anya Taylor-Joy. So yeah, I think this is the first thing I've really seen her in. I haven't seen Last Night in Soho, her most recent movie. Has she been in any? Oh, I saw the New Mutants, which is a bad movie, but she was in that, I think. I don't remember if she was the main character or not. I could be thinking of someone else entirely. No, she's that one character. Anyway, but yeah, I liked her character in this movie basically. At first I was kind of like, dude, why is she so like annoying? I mean, she wasn't annoying, but like the way she just wouldn't talk at all. At first I was like, dude, what's her problem? But then we find out her problem, which was she was molested as a child and all that. So it's understandable why she's like the way that she is. But her her acting is just good. I feel for her character. I was rooting for her to make it out of that place alive. The other two girls I did not really care for. Obviously, I didn't want them to die, but obviously she was more compelling because she is the protagonist. Unless James McAvoy is technically the protagonist. No, he was the antagonist. What am I talking about? The therapist lady, Betty Buckley. She was a good actor, especially at the end when he like kills her. But she kind of felt like she was just there for exposition. Damn, that's deep. I agree. Like she was just explaining to the viewers his personalities, or like the fact that he has multiple personalities and his problems and all that. Which I get. You have to give exposition somehow, but it kind of just felt like she just talked about it the whole time. But I did like at the end when she, comes in, writes down, say his name, and then dies. Pretty emotional when she died. I did not cry, but it's kind of like one of those jaw-dropping things because this is when the Beast has first shown up, and he just crushes her bones. I was listening to music out there. But yeah, the Beast, James McAvoy as the Beast was terrifying. Does Todd cry during movies? Todd does not cry during movies. I don't think I've ever actually shed a tear, but I do get tears well up in my eyes sometimes, depending on the movie and how good it is. Like Top Gun Maverick, that happened multiple times. Split, I don't think happened. The Black Phone, which I was mentioning earlier, I did when the brother and sister reunite. So yeah, no, I don't cry during movies. I don't cry in general. I am a man. What was I talking? Oh yes, Split. So yeah, the Beast like eating the other two chicks, made my jaw kind of drop. Cause he was just scary in general, which is good because it's a horror movie. One of my favorite horror movies, I think. I don't, I said earlier when I was talking about the Black Phone, horror is not my favorite genre, but I watch the good horror movies, and this is probably one of my favorites, I would think. Uh-oh, he's back.
Mom is packing stuffed ham sandwiches for the Buffy concert. Do you want one?
Stuffed ham sandwiches?
Yeah.
Sure. What's in a stuffed ham sandwich? Ham and cheese? Did I lose?
No.
Oh, you made me lose. Just kidding. No?
You know, like the St. Mary's kind of stuff?
Oh, that thing. Yeah.
It's got celery. If you don't like it, I'll eat yours.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
It tastes like an old folks home.
Oh, cool. Andrew says, I want one, please. So pack one for him, too.
They're good. But it's like, again, it tastes like an old folks home. Like, you go in there and the cafeteria is like, this is weird.
But in a
tastes
good
like
way?
that, but it's good. Not even joking. With Old Bay, fantastic.
We love Old Bay.
Dragon sauce that they had. The Old Bay, I'm sorry, the stuffed ham egg rolls that they had this moment is just phenomenal. They come with sauce. You put that on the sandwich, bomb.
Cool. I will have one, yeah.
Yep. You got one.
Bet.
Sweet.
Was I done talking about Split? I think I was pretty much done. Oh, let's talk about that post-credit scene. So I didn't mention this. I didn't really mention this until Logan kind of mentioned it when he was in here, but Split has a post-credit scene, where David Dunn shows up. And I'm sure if I had seen this movie in theaters and didn't know it was coming, I would have been like mind blown. I knew it was coming because I knew that these three movies are an unofficial trilogy. Oh no, they're not unofficial. They are a trilogy. Um, but seeing David Dunn show up was still pretty cool. And then he mentions Mr. Glass, even though it doesn't really make sense. Like they see on TV that James McAvoy's character is still out there, and they're like, "This is just like what happened 15 years ago with that dude in the wheelchair. What was his name again?" And when I heard that, I was like, "How is that similar at all?" I mean, I guess they both committed horrifying acts. I guess he blows up a train. The Beast eats two girls, kidnaps another girl. So I don't know. I mean, I guess it's just a way for him to prove that they're a trilogy. Um, but yeah, I was like, dude, David Dunn versus James McAvoy or the Beast this in the third movie. That sounds like it's gonna be awesome. So I'm sure everyone was hyped for Glass. I hadn't seen them when they were out in theaters, so I didn't know about it. I mean, I think I saw the trailers for Glass. I just had no idea what was happening, so I didn't really care at the time. Wish I did. Well, actually, kind of wish I didn't. I mean, I'm fine that it didn't because I guess we can talk about Glass now. Glass sucks. it's just a bad movie in general. Logan said it too. He was like, Unbreakable, Split, good. Glass, bad. It's just everything about that movie is bad. As I said earlier, M. Night Shyamalan's movies are either fantastic or terrible. Unbreakable and Split, I would say, are on the fantastic side. As well as The Sixth Sense, of course, which is one of his iconic movies. And then his terrible movies like The Last Airbender and Glass. Both of them suck. Like, I can't describe it any better. They're just not good. And it's disappointing because Unbreakable is so good, Split is so good, and I'm like, oh, seeing these characters from these movies clash in the third movie is just going to be awesome. And obviously, I already knew Glass got bad reviews, but I was still hoping. I was like, maybe I'll like it despite what everyone's saying, because there are some movies I like that got bad reviews. But unfortunately, no, I did not like it. As I was watching, I was just straight faced the whole time. I was like, this is just not good. That was just the thoughts going through my head. The story is just boring. The character motivations that they have are questionable at best. The villain, or I guess you could call Mr. Glass and the Beast of the villains, but the other villain, which is like the psychiatrist lady, played by Sarah Paulson, I think is her name. She's just so boring. Like, her acting is... I mean, maybe it's not her acting. I guess it's probably the writing. This is also written and directed by M. Night, so, it's his fault. Her character is just not good. Like, I just didn't care for her. And then there's this, like... This is a spoiler. I'm gonna spoil this movie. I mean, I've been spoiling the whole time, but yeah. Obviously, if you don't want spoilers, don't watch. But this organization that she's a part of, that you only realize it at the end. It's like, what's the point? They just show up. They literally kill the three characters from the first two movies: David Dunn, Elijah Glass, whatever his last name is, and Kevin Wendell Crumb. They just end up killing them all, and that's the end. And then you find out that Elijah's mastermind plan again comes into play, where he recorded everything, and then the people, their friends that are still alive, send them out to the world to, prove that this organization exists. But like, who cares? This movie's over. Maybe he had a franchise in mind after Glass, but how are you going to do that if the three main characters are dead? I don't really know what his thought process was there when writing. It's just bad. I thought it would be cool to see David Dunn and the Beast fight, and it was, despite how bad the movie was, it was relatively cool to see those two fight, clash in battle, Seeing the Beast try to break his bones like he did to his therapist in the first movie, and then it doesn't work because his bones literally can't break. That's cool. But then the rest of it's just meh. Like they fight again at the end, but I kind of just didn't care. I was just bored. I'm like this. I don't care who wins. And that's another thing. They spend more time with James McAvoy and Samuel L. Jackson's characters, who are the villains, technically. Spend more time with them than they do with who's supposed to be the protagonist, I think, which is David Dunn. He's like the hero, right? But they like barely spend any time with him. You don't really feel any emotional connection for him. I wasn't rooting for him. I wasn't rooting for anybody. I was just like, I don't care. And as much as I love Bruce Willis, I'm just like, I don't. His performance just isn't great. None of their performances are good, but you know, the writing that they had to work with wasn't good. A-list actors, yeah, there is a ton of A-list actors because they are all in Unbreakable and Split, and then Glass brings them together. But they're just not. The writing just isn't good for them. They don't have anything to work with. It's Samuel L. Jackson, Bruce Willis, James McAvoy, Anya Taylor-Joy, Sarah Paulson. I think those are all the A-list actors. I don't know if Sarah Paulson's A-list, but yeah, their performances weren't great. I mean, James McAvoy still did good as doing the multiple personalities like he did in Split, so that's still impressive, and it's cool to see them again. I guess I like seeing Hedwig again, and Dennis and Patricia, I think is her name, and the Beast, of course. You know, the Beast is still, his acting performance is still good, but you know, it's just the writing's just not good. And what's with the weird romantic tension between Anya Taylor-Joy's character, her name's Casey, and James McAvoy's character, Kevin / all the other personalities. Like his characters or his personalities kidnapped her in Split, right? Do all these terrible things to her, like chase her around, try to kill her, try to eat her. And then obviously the Beast lets her go at the end because he realizes that she has suffered or something, because he realizes her past. And then they use that as an excuse in Glass for her to like him. And like even there's some weird romantic sexual tension between them. And like what? Why? Like what's the purpose? I think it's technically between her and Kevin's character, who's the guy who's like the original personality. But they only saw each other like once in the first movie. And they see each other like 2 or 3 times in this movie. And they have this weird tension, romanticness between them. And it's like, why does she even care for him in the first place if he did all these things to her, terrible things to her in the first movie? I don't understand. Gotta have erotica to keep some audience interested, I guess. Yeah, I guess that's probably what it was. That was probably M. Night Shyamalan's thought process. But it's terrible. And he should never write a movie again because of it. Just kidding. I like some of his movies, like Unbreakable and Split. He hasn't had a good one since Split, I'm guessing. I think he did Split and then Glass and then the new movie Olds, which I haven't actually seen, but I heard it wasn't that good. So yeah, Glass is just bad. And like you think it'd be good because it has these 3 really cool characters all in a room together in this psych ward or whatever. And then nothing really happens until they escape, of course. And I feel like it should be more of a like emotional thing for David to see Mr. Glass again after so many years. But it's not. He just sees him and he's like, you gotta be kidding me, or something like that. Like, dude, this guy literally blew up a train that you were on and tormented your family for like days. And you're just like, oh, it's this guy again. I just don't get it. I guess it was kind of cool to see Mr. Glass be a mastermind again and like pretend that he's in this vegetative state but that's really it. I gave this movie a 3 out of 10 overall, which is one of the worst scores I've ever given. If you see my reviews, you know most of my reviews are usually over 5 because I normally enjoy movies, and I normally watch movies that I think I'll enjoy. There's some movies I see that I hate, but most of the time I like movies. But this movie, no, did not like it. Just bad. All around. And so disappointing because it should have been good, but it was not. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's kind of cool that they got the kid from the first movie, Unbreakable, to return in this movie because it's been like 18 years. So that's kind of cool, but then they couldn't get the wife to return because well, I don't know what happened with the actress. I'm guessing she just declined, so they're like, oh, her character died of cancer or something. And that could have been emotional, but it wasn't. They didn't really spend any time on it. Like, they could have had David grappling with her death and maybe struggle to have a relationship with his son still because of his wife's death. But no, they don't do any of that. So, honestly, if I were you and you have not seen these movies, and you still want to watch them even after I just spoiled them for you, I would recommend watching Unbreakable and Split, and not watching Glass. And also don't watch the post-credit scene to Split, because that's what teases they're in the same universe. Just watch Unbreakable and Split as separate movies, pretend Glass never existed, be happy with the 2 movies that are good, and ignore the terrible one. Yeah, that's all I gotta say. If you've seen this movie and you're watching this on YouTube, comment down below what you thought. Because I was looking at reviews on Letterboxd, which is like a movie reviewing site, and some people were saying they liked it. They're saying there's some deeper meaning or something that people weren't getting, but I don't think so. I think it was just bad, and they're grasping for straws or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm overhating, but I don't think I'm overhating. I think it deserves its hate. The hate that I'm giving it. And just talking about the movie made me mad. Let's talk about Top Gun again. I like that movie. Just kidding. But yeah, actually, let's move on to the next movie, which is the last movie I'm going to talk about today. And that movie is The Gray Man, which is a new movie released a couple weeks ago on Netflix, starring Ryan Gosling, Chris Evans, Ana de Armas, and some other people. This is a big budget action movie about the Gray Man, who's Ryan Gosling, who is he does still exist, yeah. He's actually going to play Ken in the new Barbie movie next year, which you may not have heard about, but I think that's funny. Yeah, he's still acting. In this movie, he's Captain America. Yeah, Chris Evans is in it as well. He's Captain America. Chris Evans is the villain in this movie, and Ryan Gosling is the hero, so that's interesting. But it's about this character who he was in prison, and the CIA gets him out so that he can work for them, and he just has to he's like an asset for them to use whenever they can't go by the book, basically. So he goes by Sierra 6. That's actually just his name in the whole movie. His name is 6. And in this movie, he uncovers some agency secrets in the CIA after his former boss retired, and the CIA realizes this and hunts him down with assassins on like a global adventure. So this movie has gotten mixed reviews by people. Critics seem to not like it that much, and audiences seem to actually like it. I am somewhere in the middle. It's very basic. It's like the cookie cutter cliche action film, you know? Like spy movie, spy action film. Or maybe not spy, but like, you know, CIA type movie. It's directed by the Russo brothers, by the way, who did Winter Soldier, which is pretty kind of similar to the Winter Soldier in terms of tone, I think. They also did Infinity War, Civil War, and Endgame, but that's not important. But yeah, the movie is very basic. Still kind of enjoyable because of the cast. Um, Not really Ryan Gosling. He's kind of boring, I think. I did like his relationship with the little girl Claire, who is his former boss's niece. And his former boss, they have like a father-son relationship, so he develops this kind of father-daughter relationship with the girl. She's like 12 or something, maybe. And it's always good to see like this gruff guy and this little girl have a father-daughter type relationship, kind of like Logan the movie, with Wolverine and the little girl. So that's compelling about his character, and he's kind of funny in like a dry humor type of way, but otherwise he's sort of boring. I never really felt emotional over him. I was still rooting for his character to survive though, so I guess he was doing something right. Chris Evans as the villain was actually very surprising. I didn't think I would like him. I thought I was going to be like, well, he's just like, I won't be able to see him as anyone other than Captain America, like as his good guy type. But he plays a real asshole in this movie, and he does a good job at it. um, he's also really funny, which is kind of surprising, like in a whiny type of way, whiny frat boy kind of thing. Um, and he has this like police mustache, um, which I think is kind of funny. I mean, he's just funny in general, but it makes his character likable. I mean, I guess I wouldn't say likable. He's very unlikable because he's a douche. But I enjoyed his character in the movie, I guess I should say. Ana de Armas is also in this. Um, she's a badass as well, female action hero. Doesn't really have much to do in terms of emotion. Like, she's kind of just like the female lead. There's no romantic interest between them, but she's there, and she's hot, so I don't think I can dislike her. Like, I don't know. I liked her character. I didn't hate her character, is what I should say. um, the rest of the characters in the movie are just kind of meh. Like the villain, or not, well, not Chris Evans, the villain, the CIA guy, who's also a villain, who's like a young model-looking guy, who's probably definitely not the leader of the CIA in real life. He was meh. Like, I didn't really care for him. I didn't really like his character. And his assistant, or whatever, who eventually ends up killing the bad guy at the end, is also meh. Like, basically everybody is meh. I never dislike a baddie either. I get it. Oh, good. I'm glad you probably like Chris Evans. He's in this movie. He's very funny. But yeah, the best thing about this movie is the action sequences, which is a good thing because it's an action movie. They got really cool set pieces in this film for like action sequences. They do. The first scene is a fight scene where there's like fireworks going off, and for one thing, the visuals of that are really cool. But also the fight choreography between the two guys is great. And I like the fact that they're fighting in the place where the fireworks are set off. That's pretty cool. What? I lost. Darn. And then there's a scene where he's like falling out of a plane, or fighting in a plane, which is always cool to see while the plane is crashing. There's a whole huge sequence where he's handcuffed to a bench and there's a ton of people shooting at him. And somehow he doesn't get shot, which is maybe kind of unbelievable, but... Well, I think he gets shot, but he doesn't. Not fatally, of course. And let's see... Oh, and the hedge maze fight scene is cool. It's very... The fight choreography, which I already said, is especially good in this movie. The hand-to-hand combat scenes are especially good, especially with that Indian actor who plays the lone wolf. It's like a bounty hunter assassin guy. The fight scenes with him are really cool. Um, although I don't really get why at the end he's fighting and then he's like, you know what, never mind, and then leaves. That's pretty much what happens. I mean, I get why, but I feel like that could have been done better. um, what else about this movie? Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. It's if you want some mindless action to watch, you know, it's a fun, big budget movie. You know, put this on. It's on Netflix, so it's free. Nothing too, nothing you gotta really think about. Nothing you're gonna feel super emotional about. But I think it's something that you'll watch and be like, you know, that was like you won't regret watching it. I think you won't be like, yeah, I'll watch that. I love that movie. I'll watch it so many times. But you also won't hate it like like I do to some movies. Cough cough glass. um, I don't know how well this movie's doing. Like, oh, I mean it's on Netflix, so I guess you don't really get box office for it. But um, I don't know if it's gotten like a ton of views or anything. I wouldn't be surprised if it did. It's got these big A-list actors in it, um, and you know, big budget. I hear the budget was like huge for this movie, which is for a Netflix film. You know, it's kind of surprising. But yeah, I don't know. And they also, another thing I kind of don't like is how they set this movie up to have a sequel. Like they're gonna make it a franchise, maybe. Like I'm tired of franchises. It could have been a one-off, standalone movie. Won't be as big as anything The Rock is in, sadly. I guess. I don't think his recent movie DC League of Super Pets is doing that great. Although I guess he's a voice actor in that, so maybe people don't know he's in it. Um, but you're right, The Rock is a big name. I'm excited for Black Adam, which is a superhero movie he's gonna be in. That looks good. Or maybe not good, but it looks interesting. um, I don't know if there's anything else I need to talk about. I think I talked about those 7 movies. So I think I will switch back over and head out. It's been about an hour and a half, which is like how long I like streaming for with these. Oh. Wait, what did I press? I didn't hit enter, I hit 1. Oh, I did switch it, okay. Hello, sorry. Alright. So that was... What, you're leaving? Yeah, I mean, well, you were late. You were like an hour late, so I guess I haven't been streaming that long in your point of view, but I've been streaming for an hour and a half, and I'm already tired of talking for so long, so I'm going to leave. I talked about 7 movies today, though. I talked about Top Gun Maverick, The Black Phone, The Gray Man, Unbreakable, Split, and Glass. If you want to see my discussions on these movies, head over to my YouTube channel, which is also Radishologist, where this full stream will be uploaded later today, or maybe tomorrow. Probably actually tomorrow. Heartbroken. I'm sorry, Andrew. But I will be doing this again next week, Tuesday at 5, Radish SMP, which is Minecraft. Thursday at 5 will be Radish's Movie Club Episode 3, which I'm excited for this one. I guess it's not set in stone yet, but I'm planning on talking about Bullet Train, which I need to talk to my roommate in a second about when we're going to go see that. Which is it's a new action movie coming out tomorrow, or today actually. I guess it's Thursday. I'm going to hopefully watch Prey, which is the new Predator movie, which I hear is actually pretty good. It's on Hulu. It's not in theaters, sadly, but I plan on watching that, so we can talk about those 2 movies next week. And then maybe, what else should we talk about? One other 2022 movie. So maybe Elvis or Lightyear, or probably Elvis or Lightyear. Let me think. Maybe Lightyear. Yeah. Okay, I've decided Lightyear, Bullet Train, and Prey will be the three 2022 movies I talk about next week. And then I will also talk about some other older movies like I've been doing. Um, Dwayne the Rock Johnson's hit movie DC Super Pets. No, I do not plan on seeing DC League of Super Pets. Just because it's a kids movie. I mean, I guess I watched Lightyear. That's a kids movie, so I guess I do like some kids movies. I'm not really interested in DC's League of Super Pets, though. I think I will watch it when it comes out on HBO Max or something. Um, but yeah, just like I was not interested in Minions, I am not interested in Super Pets. I do not care about those movies. Sorry. I'm gonna talk about better movies though. Well, I don't know if Bullet Train or Prey will be good. I hear they're good, but I guess we'll see. Um, all right, that is all for today. Again, if you want to watch this full stream, go head over to my YouTube channel. If you want to watch me play Minecraft, head over to my YouTube channel or watch my stream on Tuesday. Um, Make sure you follow on YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, TikTok. All of those. My username is Radishologist. You can also find my movie reviews at Todd's Movie Reviews on Instagram. Those are like written reviews, so you can see those before I talk about them in these streams. But yeah, that was a fun movie talk, I think. Bye, Dad. Goodbye, son. I will see you all next time.